The National Assembly Election Petition Tribunals in the 36 states and the FCT are concluding their proceedings this week and are set to deliver judgments on more than 400 election petitions. Although an official from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, indicated that 552 election petitions were filed by aggrieved candidates who participated in the National Assembly elections, it has been reported that over 150 of these cases have already been resolved, with some being withdrawn by the petitioners. However, approximately 400 cases are expected to be resolved this week as the tribunals across the country wrap up their proceedings. In recent weeks, the panels have overturned the election victories of at least 4 senators and 7 House of Representatives members from the polls held on February 25, 2023, and many others thereafter after the conduct of the 2023 set House of Assembly and gubernatorial elections. It also seems like political parties, even after the 2023 general elections, are still grappling with various internal wranglings. The ruling All Progressive Congress is yet to recover from the shocks of its leadership tussle. The People's Democratic Party has one of its chieftains and current minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, calling for the suspension of the party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, and former governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambol, because of their alleged actions during the months leading up to the 2023 general elections. There is also the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, and the Labour Party, who are also going through their own share of internal crisis. And elsewhere, President Bola Tinubu, who was in India for nearly 1 week, said that the G20 will remain incomplete without Nigeria. And joining me on the program tonight to discuss these issues and more, I have in the studio Dr. Bibi Farouk, lecturer of political economy at the University of Abuja. He is also a member of the NNPP. Welcome to the program, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
After a long time, we've been looking for you.
Quite a while.
Well, anyway, we are glad to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, yes. And we also will take a short break. When we return, the conversations commences. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back. Doctor, once again, welcome to our studio. So many things to discuss. I'm tempted to start maybe with the G20, because you lecture political economy, and it is all about politics and economy. What is your take about this G20? Is it that important?
Yes, groupings like G20, BRICS, VINT, and CIREC are actually becoming relevant in today's international economy.
Okay.
They are for many reasons. Fundamentally, the domination of the United Nations, World Bank, IMF, that was decided at the Bretton Woods during the Second World War is nearly 100 years old. So it is aging. Look at the United Nations, its ability to reform itself is getting limited. You cannot get extra members of the Security Council apart from those that were there for 80 or more years. That was a product of American dominance of global economy.
Okay.
It started from the New Deal, 1933. They went into the Second World War from 1939 to 1945 as the strongest dominant economic power. So they decided. That's why the dollar remains dominant. But, yeah, that's exactly.
There was secret behind that.
Yes, the dollar became dominant because they decided that the dollar backed by gold would be the international currency of exchange, not just gold. It used to be a gold standard thing. But in 1971, Nixon decided that he was withdrawing the backing of the gold. If you want to take the dollar, take the dollar. And that's when dollar now became the alpha. And what they do is print it. What you do is give your goods to collect their printed money. And that is how the global economy has been ongoing for the last 70, 80 years.
But is it being threatened now?
Yes.
Okay.
So Russia has been trying to find alternatives. China has become the second most strongest economy in the world. and it is not in support of American dominance. So now that we are beginning to see this diversification of power within the international economy. And the world is moving from, the world was bipolar from after the Second World War, because Russia was able to have the military might to influence a lot of global activities. So it was competing with the United States. So they were bipolar. You're either in the West or you're in the East. But the Russian-Soviet system collapsed in the 80s, and then the world practically became unipolar with American dominance. But now, because of the economic challenges, we are moving into a multipolar system. Now
it's not even bipolar.
It's not bipolar, it's multipolar. China is pulling its influence. India is beginning to pull its influence. India is now vexing muscles. You can see its role in BRICS. You can see its role in the G20. You can see they have gone to the moon.
They even hosted the G20.
Yeah, they have gone to the moon. They are now bragging of technological capacities that they can take care of themselves. They have military capacities, that they have nuclear weapons. So India is moving in. Brazil, at the Southern American leg, is also bringing up its muscles. EU, it's still united in alliance with the American system. So you have multiple areas of control. These multiple areas of control are likely going to continue unless there is a global conflict. That's it's war or physical conflict, yes.
To push some of these upcoming blocks
into two different groups.
But for now, each and every one of them is pushing
for its influence, and America's influence is waning. And you can begin to see neutrality coming around. Sweden is losing its neutrality, is going to align. Switzerland might, it might not.
The coolest country, I mean, in terms of caught in crisis.
Crisis, yes. But you can see that neutrality is going, and blocks are coming up. And so that's why BRICS is important. That's why G20. G20 is an expansion of G7, actually.
Okay.
G7 was a union of the strongest economic powers. So
you're talking about US, you're talking about Germany.
Canada, France, Italy.
Yes.
And so seven.
But now you have, of course, Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, the United Kingdom, the United States, the European Union, and the African Union.
Yeah. So now they are a bloc. As a bloc now, they control about 80% of the world GDP.
80%?
80%.
Wow.
They control about 75% of global trade, as they are. And they have about 60% of landmass. About 2/3 of the population of the world is within this group. So it's a very powerful group. You can say as powerful as the United Nations, only that it is not as formal as the United Nations. The structures are not formal.
Okay, as the United
Nations do. So they have informal structures where they just make a decision to have meetings on particular issues and take decisions on those issues and wait for the next year's meeting. So, and the interesting thing for us now that Africa is coming in, for us in Nigeria, is what roles are we now going to play? Because the expansion of 1999 into G20 from G7 was the realization of the need to bring emerging economies.
Okay.
So we're not regarded as an emerging economy.
We're not regarded?
No.
Up till now?
Up to now. Because our economy is not that advanced. Our structures are not in place. We do not produce nothing. The whole of Africa has only 2% of global trade. And so Nigeria has...
The whole of Africa?
The whole of Africa. Nigeria has none. Almost, we're next to zero in global trade. The only thing we do is import everything for ourselves.
But where do you place our population?
So the population now gives us a population advantage. But a population that is not enlightened is as bad as a population. I mean, the comparison.
That is you in Hausa, right?
Yes. You about Apani. Because if you have 10 million enlightened people, they are better than 200 million.
Oh my God. Then what is the implication of Tinubu's statement, as I said in the introductory part of this conversation, that he says that this G20 or G21 is not complete without Nigeria. Is that a rhetoric?
Yeah, it's a global rhetorical statement, mostly looking at the population, like you say, that 1 out of every 4 black people is a Nigerian, and so on and so forth. Those are sentiments. But assess the economy and see what is our contribution to the global GDP is next to zero. What is our contribution in trade is next to zero. Now, what is our technological contribution to the world is also not there. So what we need to do is, if we are able to take care of these indices, we will be recognized naturally. The other factors that are favorable to us, population, race, and so on, will move in.
Seamlessly.
Seamlessly. And that's why I'm saying the whole of Africa needs to even know why are they being quoted into although they want to go into G20, they have gone, but why are they accepted? Because I think the next stage after emerging economies is to find markets and resources.
Okay, so it's one thing to be an emerging economy. It's another thing
to now have resources in Africa.
Because you need resources to actually drive the economy you're talking about.
And the new global energy economy of the world, the green economy, is going to rely on certain mineral resources that are in abundance in Africa that we don't know about. And so therefore,
and our uranium in my mind now.
Uranium,
we have it in Taraba.
You have lithium, you have...
lithium in Nasarawa.
Nasarawa, so many. Almost any battery you want to run today runs on some mineral resource that is abundant somewhere in Africa. Even a lot of it
in Nigeria, Doctor, I'm very much interested in this because we attend all sorts of meetings.
Yes.
We attend all sorts of meetings. As we speak from, India, the president proceeded to UAE. Yes. What do you think Tinubu should latch on? In 1999, Obasanjo was the most troubled president.
Yes, that's true.
Now, Buhari has done his own.
Yes.
They all signed different treaties, thousands of them. What do you think Tinubu must do, not even should do, must do to get it differently this time? Not just to join this G20, not just to join the BRICS or whatever. What should we do to get it right from the home front?
Well, there are two things, two aspects. The local economy must be advanced. Intellect and innovation must exist in your country for you to get recognition as a technologically advancing country or advancing country. That gives you Then our foreign policy itself needs to have an overhaul.
It has to overhaul it.
We have to, because we have concentrated on Africa as being the centerpiece. We have then the second concentric cycle on anti-colonial issues. Then we now relate to our former colonial governments or mothers as our basic approach towards foreign relationships. One of the most conservative aspects of governance or elite in Nigeria are in the foreign service. You see, they are very reluctant to be adventurous. Maybe they don't have the facilities because the technology is not there. Like I said, education is very low and so on.
And the foreign services.
The foreign service just treats itself to the parties at the meetings and do not have any interest they pursue. You hardly find Nigerian foreign service pursuing any specific interest. Once the black race issue and culture issues are settled, we think we have achieved everything. The world
and it's beyond that.
It's beyond that now. You need to have economic capacity, military capacity, technological capacity as a global member, of the global world. So that Tinubu needs to do. There is nothing wrong with his traveling and meeting, but he has to put this in place and now begin to relate. Because like you're seeing our relationship with Nigeria now, no matter how friendly you are to your neighbors, you could still have crisis. What you need to do is to be strong enough not to give an incentive to anybody, whether close or from a distance, to have a crisis with you, because they will not win. So I think we have to readjust everything now.
From this thing you just said, it reminds me of, I hosted a former governor here last week, and he said they went to Austria, and the carpet in our embassy there, and all, things there, they were the ones put by the Shehu Shagari administration.
Yes.
He was shocked because I asked of his take on now that the president has recalled all our foreign services that they should come back home, that how should he get it right? Will you say something on this? The kind of people he should appoint as ambassadors, because I have cause to interact with some people that they don't even want to be ambassadors. Maybe they don't know the implication of being an ambassador. They feel that if you are assigned to be an ambassador, it's like
punishment,
it's a
take
punishment
you away from the local
Yes, is it that we don't understand the implication of some
we
of
don't
these things?
actually. Like I told you, it's a relaxing place, a party place, a meeting attending place, even right from up to their junior staff. When you find it's just a matter of you have an opportunity to live abroad. You know, these are a culture of if you are abroad, you are better off. That's why we're jappering and so on and so. So the person who is already a diplomat feels he has official license to japper, and that's all that matters. We need to have strategic demands on the world and send people who can achieve these objectives for us.
Okay.
Technologically, if we have to steal technology, we have to have people who can make sure it is stolen. You know, you don't go and sit down and say your country is inviting investors. You are inviting people to come and take your resources. Nobody puts 1 billion and does not take 3 billion away. So if you have 1 billion this year, in the next 4 years, your 4 billion has gone to another place.
Oh my God.
So what you need to do is to have your people being able to go and invest there and bring the billions.
To encourage people to have a way of going there to invest.
You would be surprised if you see when Dangote lands in Tanzania, even without notice, the president stops what he's doing and runs there because he has the biggest cement industry that employs more people. Dangote is still making money out of it. If he goes to Benin Republic, goes to Zambia, goes to those places, that's what we should be doing. We are not supposed to be happy that they are bringing 14 billion. 14 billion will take away 80 billion.
If they bring 14 billion.
Well, okay, look at Olam now. Olam is an Indian company, it's an Indonesian company. We are now accusing them of taking $50 billion.
Yes.
Because it's not their country. Would they try it in their country and survive?
It's not possible.
It's not possible. You know? So don't think that investment is an answer. It's a World Bank, IMF thing because they want to open us up. Because that's what we are. That's what they think we are. That's why they colonized us. The resources is just what they're after. Not the humanity. Not our advancement. So it is us that would decide on those advancement and do the right thing. Why would somebody... even slave trade was an investment. Colonialism was an investment. Some of the banks we are dealing with today were financing slave traders. JP Morgan, Barclays Bank, Lloyd Bank, they are financing slave traders to come here and take us and enslave us. When we became colonized, it was the same banks that financed all the Landa brothers, Clappertons, carpenters, and so on, to come and study us and find areas where they can find resources and markets. Those were businesses. And these businesses that created Nigeria. And so we are still looked at like that.
Finally, before we move to real politics, because I'm very much interested on this and Nigerians are interested, how can we colonize Africa? I mean, in quotes, not colonize it in the real sense of colonization, but how can Nigeria regain its leadership posture? We have all traveled across Africa and we have seen the potential there. But it's like Nigeria is still even expecting. Look at the last time our governors were taken to Rwanda for a retreat. How can Nigeria get it right on that in the next 4 years?
If we put our local politics in proper perspective, and people study us and say, yes, our democracy is working in a manner that it can give us democratic dividends, as a result we are bound to develop. We put our economy in a proper perspective. We have an advantage on culture. The whole of Africa is interested in our dressing, our movies, we have this affinity with most of Africa.
Even our food.
Our food and so on. So we lynch on that and introduce economic relationships. Then we build our educational capacity. Invite people to come and be part of us in industrial, economic, and technological development. And you will see in a short while, we have a population of 200 million. There is no country in Africa that has half of that, really.
Yes, you put quite a number of countries for you to have what we have. I know at the twilight of the Buhari administration, Vice President Oshibanjo then said, you have to put the GDP, was it of 4 or 5 or thereabout countries to give you the GDP of maybe a state in Nigeria?
Yes, that's true.
So we can do it.
We can do it. It's just leadership that sees this thing. We see it in Tinubu. We just hope he does it because I personally see him as a more vast, enlightened, focused person.
And this is beyond party boundaries.
This is beyond party boundaries. I'm not in his party. I've never met him. I'm not
but
interested in
you think he has the capacity?
I think he is better than where we're coming from.
Right.
Better than Jonathan, better than Buhari. Probably at the league of Obasanjo, but smarter and more finesse, with more finesse and intellectual capacity than even Obasanjo. Obasanjo is a wise man. He was my boss. Native intelligence, I think he can beat Tinubu, but proper useful intelligence for today's...
I like this one, native intelligence. Doctor, yeah, okay.
Tinubu would shove him aside. So we have that hope. We just hope that we don't lose that hope again because we had hopes before.
Yes, and his renewed hope. We hope we see it.
We hope we see it.
On the ground. Thank you very much. Let's now move to the real politics. Are you really happy, Doctor, that across the states and the FCT, 552 petitions were filed? As a political economist, is this really good for our democracy? 552 petitions.
When I see them as a political economist, I try to look at the cost and add it to the cost of election.
Or the cost of distance to the cost of election.
Because the continuation of the electoral process.
Yeah.
You know, until you decide on the courts, you are still in the electoral race. So look at, just INEC takes about 500 billion. Candidates, there are insinuations by some foreign media that to win a Nigerian election, you have to spend $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah.
And when we convert that into Naira, I think it runs into trillions.
Yes, trillions of Naira. Which is possible that at least something near that must have been spent because we know the money bags and how they operated from their primaries to the end of the elections. Then you now look at how it's now time for the lawyers. You know, the lawyers are taking their, we don't know how many billions, maybe 200 would go there, I suppose. You know, so you put it together, is democracy really that expensive? Must it be that expensive? And then where is the cost being defrayed? It's being defrayed from the treasury.
So it's not that when they even free. Finally get it, that, okay, it's governance.
No.
It's time for
recouping. So you see yourself in a very terrible situation where politics is taking over everything, consuming everything.
Maybe it's even 100%. Because when you look at it, as you rightly said, this quantum of money that is being expended by those who sought for the presidency, those who sought for the governorship, Senate, House of Reps, House of Assembly.
Exactly. It's among us. It's enough money to run Africa, probably.
The money that we use
just for
our election is enough to run the whole of Africa.
Yes.
Maybe if you put it together.
Maybe just take away some few very rich countries.
Like South Africa, like Egypt.
Yeah, maybe Morocco and Algeria. All other countries can fall in with what we are spending on just... And the worst part of it is we do not ever run democracy in an objectively strategic manner where we have a focus. We just do it as a game. Some of the people in it are just competing with one another as a game that I have to defeat him, I have to take him to Fombina, I have to focus on democracy as a tool for achieving development. It's not an end in itself. Just because you're a Democrat, you have nothing to celebrate. What you have to celebrate, it's not enough. It's just a vehicle to take you to development with ease. It's not that you can't get development from other political systems, but the ease in achieving development lies more in democracy, where there is participation, where there is everybody has an input, and what you decide on is what the whole country has a consensus on. But people can come and develop a country. China has been developed by the thinking of a few people.
And they call it democracy in their own way. Even though they don't say democracy, but they have a name for their own.
Yeah, but you know that when they meet at the Communist Party meeting once a year, it is instructions by a few people who are good thinkers. There are a lot of people that say it's not democracy, it's not the answer. Even when democracy was introduced into global activities during the Athens, Greece and so on, there are a lot of objections to the fact that you can't attain development or progress as a society by relying on everybody. There are few people.
It's not really the ideal.
It's not the ideal, and it was even limited. At that time, you have to be a landowner, you have to be a noble person, you have
there are parameters.
Parameters, you know, it's not for everybody. But with time, human rights and so on, democracy is now participatory. Everybody is involved, representative, everybody is
and
there.
we end up confusing ourselves, especially in this part of the world.
In this part of the world. And we think that it's just because you are linked, you are called a democratic country. The world that tells us that democracy is like all of it, democracies, they are not even practicing democracy to the extent in which we are going. You can argue that America, with its collegiate system, is not as democratic as Nigeria, where I choose my president from the votes. You know, and America is closer to Saudi Arabia, where there is nothing like democracy, than to Nigeria, where we are copying the exact words of their constitution.
But so I think we are adulterating it. You know?
We are not implementing it, but we are trying to copy it.
So why are we having all these petitions? Elections were conducted between, you know, February, March, right? But here we are now.
Yeah, we're still in the electoral
We are
process.
still trying to fine-tune the work we did quite a number of months back. You know, the presidential, as I said earlier, and all that. And we reject our electoral act ahead of the election.
Yeah.
Why do we have these numbers?
Because the objective of the contestants is about gaining for themselves. And until they finally reach a conclusion, where the case is closed, where they can't move any
Some
further.
at the appeal court, some at the
Supreme Court,
yeah.
they would not stop pushing. If there was a national consensus, an ideological consensus, most countries, for example, they go ideologically. Let's say Labour Party has gone into elections, where it has an ideological understanding with APC, let's assume. APC wins the election. So long as those ideological objectives of the Labour Party would be implemented, even 20-30%, they don't need to go to court. They will work for getting that 20% within those 4 years implemented by APC, because they are working for an idea and the people that they believe those ideas will help. But if you look at it now, at the end of every political party, it ends up with an individual who can be able to manage and finance and achieve the objectives of
you're talking about constructive criticism. And is it that our politicians don't really understand or differentiate between being in the opposition and then having your own ideology that you can use the party in power to achieve?
Yes, we are not ideological, especially since 1992, 1990s. We stopped ideological politics. When the Yar'Adua thing came in, and it became winner takes all, it became the strong, the mightiest, not the idea. And attempts were made to introduce ideology even to that SDP and the PF and so on, but they said, no, we have our own ways of doing things and we're going to achieve our results. Then the other ideological groupings within the Western Nigeria also dissolved into the thinkings. As you can see now, those that were progressively ideological are almost non-existent even in the Yoruba Western world.
Yes.
Tinubu is a product of that PF, SDP, non-ideologically concerned politicians. You know, out of that SDP, PF, Yar'Adua groupings, only Kwankwaso has developed an ideology actually.
Only him?
Only him. All others are, Atiku and all the other have just the need to capture power, utilize power for the purpose of power, do what they can do to make some things right, but use power to retain power. And I think nothing moved further than what Shehu Yar'Adua did. You know, there was no commitment to any ideological thinking. You know, now with this blueprint thing that has come, there is attempt to say, okay, we want to place ourselves here. Technically, when you look at them, they are all pro-Western neoliberal thinkers. But even in a pro-Western neoliberal thinking, there is ideological differences. In the United States, Democrats and Republicans are all pro-Western. They are the Western, they are thinkers. But you can see what a Democrat can do different from what a Republican can.
Exactly.
You don't see that here. That's why they can change parties. That's why they can continue going to war to courts, to everywhere, spend all the money they want, because it's more about the persons than about the ideas.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor. We'll go on a break. And viewers, we have in the studio Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Still having the studio Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk, lecturer of political economy at the University of Abuja. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Doctor, yes, you are touching where it's actually itching me and many Nigerians, this issue of ideology. Before we went on break, you mentioned Konkoso. Many people thought that he lost his ideology by meeting Tinubu in France ahead of the presidential election, and he is paying a big price now. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like I told you, if you don't win the election,
yes,
and the person who won is ready to take some of your programs, your
yes,
ideological programs, you can concede to that person on the understanding that at least out of 20 things you wanted to do, 3 or 5 will be achieved by this person, because when you assess those things, they are for the benefit of the country. They are your vision of the country. They are things that when they are done, if it's not even done by you, you will feel comfortable that they have been done. And I think that's the game he played. He felt that, okay, he had 1.4 million votes, not enough to argue because he's not the second person on the ballot, you know, but, and he was not trying to be mischievous like others and say that they can upturn it with emotions and sentiments. And he felt maybe talking to Tinubu might be a way out for at least putting some of the Kwankwasia ideologies on the table of the federal government. You know, whether he is the person personally that will implement or other people will implement, but those ideas might be the reasons why he talked to Tinubu. Now that will tell us that they have not reached a consensus probably, and so Tinubu would not be obligated to take anything from Kwankwasia as an ideology. And for those that are in Kwankwasia, the NNPP is going back to the trenches and continue to push those ideas and wait for another opportunity. And I think that's precisely, to the best of my understanding, what so if happened? People felt that he lost, is because their own assessment is also on a personal level.
Okay.
You know, that since you are a contestant, you must be in it. But if they had an idea of bringing ideas, and ideologies are not these big things that we think they are. 3 of us here can have an ideology.
Just the 3 of us?
Yes, if the 3 of us decide we are going to be having breakfast by 8 a.m.
It's an ideology.
It's an ideology. If you do it in your house, I do it in my house, he does it in his house, it's still an idea that we have developed.
But is our democracy matured from 1999 to this, or let's even go to 1992, you know, the SDP, NRC, up to this moment. Have we matured enough to start thinking of having this ideology-inclined beliefs that you can, of course, concede certain things so that the person that has it all, that is the one who won, can, you know, take credit for what you believe in? Honestly, and you'll be happy.
Honestly, from our colonial times when we started fighting for independence, we were very ideologically. inclined. If you look at the NPC, you know exactly where they stand. Conservative, traditional rulers, traditional system, everything, and their members projected that and felt development can happen within that process. You know, the NEPU was progressive, anti-tradition, socialist, humanist, you know, believing in the individual rights of people, not under a traditional system. You know, UPN was progressive, socialist, believing in educating everybody. Those are the ideologies. Everybody must get education because everybody must get an opportunity and build back into society. If you look at the ideology of UPN, most of the people in the Yoruba land that are in their 70s and 80s and now got the opportunity of the
universal basic
education. And because it was an ideology, they didn't stay there. They came back to give back. Unlike now that when you leave, you're living on your own. And you don't have any ideological persuasion to bring you back. You don't have that.
No matter the cozy atmosphere.
NCNC was Africanist, thinking that, yes, let's keep ourselves together. We even need to expand ourselves to dominate Africa, like you're saying now. That was the thinking of Zik right from the start. But from 1991,
yes,
you know, after the new breed thing, the creation of parties under like parastatals, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. During SDP and NRC, politicians discarded ideologies. Those that kept ideologies kept away from politics.
And I think that's why we are paying a big price. But was there any relationship between Konkoso and Tinubu that
yes,
people don't really know? Because many believe that he saw Tinubu this time around simply because of his urge, crave for power, maybe to be a minister or something like that.
If you look at Nigerian political history, like I told you, these things changed during the Yar'Adua time.
Okay.
That was Shehu Yar'Adua, not Umaru Yar'Adua.
Not Umaru Yar'Adua.
And that's something you Katsina people would know, because Umaru Yar'Adua was ideological and was never in the same camp with Shehu. And Shehu was not ideological. Shehu was after the power.
His elder brother. Was pro-power.
Power, get power and utilize it. Umaru would rather lose power and keep an ideology.
Wow.
You know, so that was how it was. But at that time when this transition was taking place, to be honest with you, Shehu Yar'Adua dominated Nigerian politics.
Why?
Won
and
in
how?
Lagos,
yes,
won in Port Harcourt, won everywhere because he had the resources available to push into the system. And that was the time when professionals that had other things doing wanted to come into politics to make personal benefits. That's when engineers, lawyers, accountants, and others made politics their business. Akintola Williams had just died this afternoon. He would never tempt him into politics. He was the first accountant, the biggest doyen of all accounting professions. But now we had all people in banks who felt, hey, this politics, when you go there, there could be something for me. Not for the people. So long as you are supporting this group, and this group has the resources, and you have the resources to back up, you can bring your constituency and bring everything.
So do they have affinity? I mean, Konkoso and
Konkoso, Bola Tinubu, Atiku were all the front boys of Yar'Adua. Disciples. They learned their politics under the Yar'Adua system. And if you look at them, it's an accountant, a custom officer, and an engineer. All left their professions and delved into politics because that was the transition that was happening that time. If that transition was not happening, of stopping, starting new breeds, stopping ideology, the people that would have dominated politics at that time would have been the people who were in politics right from First Republic. You know, then they were also active in Second Republic. Where did you find the Bello Metamas and so on in that time? They were even banned, actually. If you remember, Adamu Chiroma, late Adamu Chiroma, Shehu Umaru Shinka, people who had political affinity from Second Republic were practically banned. So that transition happened, and we came, it was a political bureau decision, actually, that we should avoid ideology.
So now, what is the genesis of the crisis we are witnessing now, especially in the across all parties? You know, I mentioned it in our introduction.
It's really because there is no ideology.
No ideology.
No ideology, because how could you lose an election after selling your ideology to the people?
Or is it a clash between ideology and new breed politicians?
No. It's a lack of it.
Okay, it's lack of ideology.
No ideology, yes. Like, for example, let's start from APC.
Okay.
Adamu, from the MPN to the PDP to so on, does not really gel with the thinking of Tinubu. And he made it clear before the election, so
yes.
he's paid the price for that.
He had to leave, yeah.
He had to leave. But ideally, he wasn't supposed to be in the same team.
In an ideal situation.
In an ideological
they are poles apart.
They are poles apart. Today, who is this? Bode George would tell you that the greatest shock he had in politics
yes.
was when Tinubu and Buhari got together.
Yes.
You know, because he said it's water and oil.
They can't.
He didn't see any basis. But because the ideology was discarded, what Buhari believed in became different from what he used to and aligned with whatever Tinubu believed in. And their lifestyles were completely opposite, out of the way. But look at it, the one has transited to another, and they have done it seamlessly. They have had an agreement.
Well,
because
maybe of sorts.
yes,
because some people still believe that actually Tinubu fought his way. Yeah.
When you say Buhari and Tinubu, it's seamless. If Buhari as a person didn't want a Tinubu presidency, it wouldn't have happened. But if you say Buhari people, it wouldn't have happened. In this kind of third world
he can overrule any other person.
Of course.
You are demystifying a lot of myths, you know, this
but
this
people
evening.
should be realistic. If you are a sitting president today, and somebody within your party, and you are the leader of the party, is contesting an election, first and foremost, you will lose your party. You will be the person. Look at how long it took the APC to come out and make a decision. They were waiting for the body language of the president.
Yeah.
So that's how the power lies, especially in Africa.
He exudes a lot of power.
A lot of power. You know, in the US, despite the fact that when it comes to second tenure and you're going, you try to be neutral. But if you are on the ballot, your party hardly brings out a candidate.
Because they know that you have that power.
The incumbency power is too much.
Nobody's giving credit to Buhari this time around. I don't really know why.
Buhari periods are an epoch on their own. Let's
okay, now why is Kwankwaso having it a bit tough now? Is it because maybe he moved from PDP to APC now to NNPP, which many believe is a strange party?
NNPP is a strange party to the extent that it has existed for 20 years or so and had not contested serious
it was
elections.
quiet somewhere.
Yes, but it was transformed. The real attraction of Kwankwaso to NNPP was that it's a new Nigeria, and that's a belief he has in new Nigeria. It's more of the name of new Nigeria that attracted him. You know, he wants a new Nigeria, different from what is happening in the other places, which he convinced himself it's because of his political ideology and thinking that it is impossible for him to cohabit with other people in other parties, you know, in the APC and in the... I tell you that when Kwankwaso broke away from Buhari, it was after Kwankwaso had gone to Buhari twice to tell him, this is what I think we should do after winning election. And Buhari felt, no.
It's not the way
so you can't even see me to talk about these things. So how can I make contributions with my ideology and my followership and I cannot have an input? That killed everything. So now, if he had had an opportunity with Tinubu, well, he would have worked with him, but what would be expected are the ideals of his group. Are they going to be on the table? Now that it might not be, then he would go back to the trenches and continue.
And it's not with the mindset of defeat.
No, it's not defeat. That's the nice thing about ideologies. There's no defeat because it's not a personal thing.
You, his disciples, I mean, you who work with him, even though you're an academic, your thinking about party politics is different. What is the future of some of these political parties now ahead of 2027? Because many are saying the permutations we are seeing now, many people from APC will move to PDP, even though we are still new, I mean, in the transition. Many in NNPP will even think of bringing out another political party. Labour Party may likely fizzle out, or you will join maybe another new party, or you go back to PDP. What is your thinking about this?
Some things have happened that we should take into consideration.
Okay.
unlike any other time in Nigerian politics, I think Obi movement has been able to take politics to places and to people that were not interested.
That is the
I'm
Labour
not saying
Party.
that they were not as saturated. In the North, there are still more saturated people in politics but there is an ideal that they can go to the grassroots, to the streets, and make demands. Those were not characters of politics. The second thing that is happening is the economic situation. You know, there is so much misery and poverty, and it's biting. And when you have an economic uncertainty, politics cannot be.
It cannot thrive.
It cannot thrive. It cannot be predicted, actually.
You
You cannot even predict it because the foundation is the economy. So if the economy is like this,
It's shaking.
then you can't even see what is happening in the political space. So I don't think it is right for anybody to predict 2027 at this level. If Tinubu gets the economy right and we feel we're out of the woods, then you can begin to say yes because of what he has done. If the economy continues the way it is, I tell you that there's nothing to predict.
No, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. That's what I wake up with every day, actually.
Now, how can we convince our politicians to settle for governance, going by the fact that what we started this conversation with, 552 petitions, 400 awaiting judgment, even though they have up to, I think, the end of this week, maybe up to Monday, which will be 180 days. But from all indications, many don't really care about this. They have started going to the, Supreme Court and all that. How can we address?
Incentivize it.
Okay, how?
You shouldn't allow political office holders to be having a good time with your money. The beginning of this administration, 120 billion for just 2 chambers of the National Assembly. From where? Why? You should ask them to contribute to the nation for, if they can't give you service, they should pay. If they don't come for a sitting, they should pay you. Put 200,000 naira for that day that you're not around because your contributions are lacking in the development of the nation. They should be taxed, not pampered. And everybody is going there for the pampering. So most of the countries where you see
service delivery,
the cost of politics becomes low. And that means you have to check. If you go to the White House today and have a dinner with Biden, they're going to charge him.
They'll charge him?
He will pay for that dinner.
Meaning,
he can only have
you even have to monitor with people who should visit you.
Yes. No, they won't stop him from inviting everybody.
Do whatever you want.
And they won't stop him from eating anything he wants in the world. There is a very rare fish in China. I saw it in Nanjing one time I was there. Very expensive, one of the most expensive, precious foods you can have. The time somebody said, oh, it's good food, I'd say, I'd like to eat it. His aides had it, and the next meal, they got it and brought it. But at the end of the week, at the end of the month, a bill will come. This happened to presidents. You have to pay.
All right. So, thank you very much, Dr. Vivi. I hope we incentivize it, right? Our politics. Or disincentivize the politics. So that it will be less attractive. Let me put it in common language.
So that only people who can offer service will be available.
All right. It's a big message for Nigerians. Thank you very much, Dr. Farouk Bibi Farouk, lecturer of political economy at the University of Abuja, for coming to our program.
Thank you very much, Hamza.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. Join us tomorrow for another interesting edition. And as we continue to, bring fantastic guests for you to enjoy our program. So thank you for being with us. Bye-bye for now. I'm Hamza Idris.